Folks, before we get into the episode today, I've got to tell you the very exciting news. The Patreon is live. The Snack Spot Patreon is up at patreon.com/snackspot. The link, of course, is going to be in this episode description in our Instagram bio. We just filmed some stuff for it, the first things that are up on there right now the other day, and it is so fun. The shit that we are putting on there is so awesome. You guys are going to love it. It's only $3 a month to subscribe. It really, really helps support us here, and you're getting all kinds of really awesome content. Bad Directions, the show that I do in my car, which is an advice show that people can call into. Captions On, which is this thing that Emily, Jake from Scheming and Dreaming, and myself are doing. We're watching right now all the Disney Channel original movies. We do a live watch party with that. And then the companion podcast, both video and audio, is going to be on that Patreon. Again, patreon.com/snackspot. And I just want to say right away, to all the people who are hearing this right now and immediately going over there, I cannot tell you how much we appreciate you. That means the whole world, and you guys are going to really, really enjoy the stuff. So again, patreon.com/snackspot. It's only $3 a month. Hit the link in this episode description and check it out and enjoy all the great stuff that we've got on there.
Just waiting on Emily like always.
Oh, there it is. Logo's off.
I love when the logo comes off.
It's time to start the show.
It's time to let loose.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. I honestly did not expect you two to both be this tall. I'm just going to get that out of the way right there. Like,
Should I,
watching the Instagram clips and then, like, meeting you guys in the parking lot, which I'm sorry about the search, by the way. That happens all the time. You know?
Yeah, the height here is pretty tall. I mean, you're like, what, 6'2"?
Yeah, I just had to move my chair up a little bit, too. I got to sit up a little straighter.
He's used to be, he's used to being heads above everybody.
Yeah, I used to tower over the idiots that sit next to me, but no.
Good Lord, dude.
Yeah.
Those are our guests, man.
Yeah, well, but now I'm the one that feels like an idiot. Yeah, the other people don't matter. They're not on today.
It's true. Good
That's-
point. Good point.
All right. See,
Well, because who sat in
why we
this
have
chair
two
last?
on.
Probably like Nate or somebody, so.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I
It
had
all
to move the
blends
chair up a
together.
little bit.
Yeah.
Because you like having your feet at 90-degree angles, right?
Yeah.
I don't like when people sit so low. It makes me
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, when it's just Andrew and I sit in the middle and I go full extendo,
there you
like
go.
wide, kind of stretch around him.
Sure you
Yeah,
love
Hug-
puts
hug his
fucking
legs with
feet
my
right
legs.
over. It's gross
Yeah.
because he takes his shoes off all the time.
It
It's
creates a more
disgusting.
intimate setting for the podcast.
And he's got
It's better
weird
for the-
feet. He's got
Alright,
like
let's not-
crazy feet.
Yeah, there's other things we could talk about.
Like literally, like I've got X-Men 2 on in the green room, and like Beast, how he's got like the feet that grab.
Not familiar.
That's what you've got. Yeah, I know. But for somebody out there, just like they have that visual, and like it's good. But yeah, so we keep like diving into talking about this and then stopping talking about it because we wanted to like save it for the show. But this Buffalo Happy Hour Irish whiskey, this is crazy, guys. Like, what was it like? I mean, when you first like got these bottles in.
I mean, a mass rush of anxiety. Stress was through the roof, and then
that.
So this
Derek's-
was actually our second one that we did.
Yeah.
okay.
We did another one to 3-chord, which is in Clarence.
Gotcha.
And that one, when we first started, because I don't know how you guys are, we still have imposter syndrome like crazy, where we're like, we don't know like why people listen to us.
Yeah.
So we released 120
it was 120 total bottles.
with 3-chord.
Yeah.
And they sold out within 2 hours. And we're
Holy
like, okay, that's
shit,
crazy.
dude.
So then we did Klein and Kilty. It took a little bit longer for us to do, but this one was so good. So it's a Irish whiskey finished in a Sauternes barrel, which is a French white dessert wine. So it gives kind of like that back end sweetness. It's really good. You got to try it, even though you're not a whiskey guy.
That's fascinating. Yeah, let's
And we
let's
certainly
get
will.
in here.
It's-
for sure.
So we obviously got to put a disclaimer out. So Derek and I have a tagline. It's on the front label. But
Drink responsibly. That's a direct quote from you guys. I'm pretty sure you came up with that, right?
exactly.
I've never heard
So-
that before.
No, I don't think you have. But but yeah, we always say drink responsibly, be a good person, and don't litter. So we put that on essentially all the marketing that we can, because that's just like our business motto that we
yeah.
started with just over 3 years ago, which is insane to think about. But with the label aspect, we wanted to make sure that people understood it's going to warm you up inside. So if your tolerance is not high, like Derek and I's, because of course we do this for science,
Yeah.
then just, sip it, be responsible, because it's going to catch up with you. It's 114 proof, so it's pretty hot, but it's good for you.
Oh yeah.
It smells
Scientifically
like
proven.
it smells really good. Like it smells like a good whiskey. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And
Love that.
I mean, that's kind of the most fascinating thing to me just in this quick.
Oh, you want some, Emily?
She needs some.
She's on the clock.
Yeah, Emily's not getting paid for today. But even listening to you guys talk about it already, it's so interesting to me because, like, I enjoy drinking whiskey. I don't know anything about it. And part of that is probably just, like, an ignorance to learn. But I'm just, like, kind of, drink it. When there's people around me that like to drink it, I take their word for it, and I just try it. I don't know anything about it. But, like, hearing you guys explain, the process behind how that was made and a little bit of what we talked about before we started recording with, the process of it being made in Ireland and how you guys figure that stuff out. It's just really, really cool. Did you guys get an opportunity, like the first chance to taste it then, or was it?
Yeah. So for single barrels, normally what happens is you work with the distillery to get a bunch of different samples. So we had 8 different samples with Clonakilty. Hopper brought them all. He lined us all of them up, and then us, along with Tyler from Addy's and a couple other people from Addy's, just basically sampled all of them, and we're like, I like this one the best. So that's kind of how single barrels work.
It was funny because when we were doing that tasting to identify the barrel that we wanted to pick, this was the first one we had. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like we were spoiled. And Derek and I were having conversations with Hopper that was all nonverbal. So he was sitting there and he was just sipping, and to him, like, he doesn't care. It's just like whatever the people want. Like, to me, like, all of these have their space, right? Like, I can move any of these regardless. So me, Derek, and him were taking sips, and we just kept looking at each other, and we're just like slow, silent, quick head nods. It was kind of strange. Where we started slow, we're just like, we think that's it. We try like number 2 and 3, and then we just keep looking, and it's like that, those kind of movements. Yeah. And then by the end of it, we're just like, it's the first one. It was kind of strange how that worked out, because normally it's not like that. You'll generally find them towards the back half of the tasting, because sometimes reps hide certain things, and they're like, we kind of prepped this to give you like, hey, we could do A, we can combine B and C, or we can do D. What are your thoughts? Like, they can set it up so many different ways. So for us to sit there and just unanimously decide that this one is the best, and then everybody else that was involved in the panel come from so many different backgrounds, so getting their feedback was imperative, really. And then with Tyler from Addy's being there, really helped it out, because he's got a really good palette to identify certain things as well, just to kind of fine-tune it. Because, like, if we brought you guys into a panel, and Derek and I are going to pick up a lot of intricacies, sure, but you guys aren't necessarily diving into whiskey every single day. So having your feedback from our standpoint is beneficial, because then we can identify what would the everyday drinker want, and like, what would somebody who's not super obsessed with whiskey take about this, or what their feedback is. But we're excited for you guys to try this, man.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you for the tap. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. You and your silky mittens.
Forever and always.
Pretty sweet, huh?
I'm going back in.
It's delicious.
Pretty sweet, huh?
I'm going back in, he says.
Yeah, that is delicious. So, when you guys, I guess in general, when it comes to like the whiskey, do you guys get a lot of people, I guess, like Andrew and I, that are just like, we have no clue, like, what do we drink, blah, 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 blah. Is it like constant repetitive? Or to you guys, is it like, oh, this is awesome, this is like, let's we get to talk about something that we love?
Mm-hmm. I think in general, it's a mix of both. There's a lot of people that understand whiskey but don't drink as much as we do. This kind of sounds like we're alcoholics, but we're not. And then trying to get them to understand certain things is super interesting for somebody that thinks that they're experienced. And that's not a slight of them. It's just there's so much to the world of whiskey that majority of the people don't know, which for two guys that really enjoy talking about whiskey, it's cool to open up their eyes to different areas of whiskey. Like all the things that we talk about is everyone in the States is super obsessed with bourbon.
Yep.
But there's a huge market of Irish whiskey, Scotch, Japanese whiskey, single malts from around the world, from France, from India, what Canada is making, different types of rye. Like there's a ton of different types of whiskey out there that we're just trying to help people understand there's other options other than just buying Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard the Japanese whiskey, like, on one podcast that I listened to, the guy who hosts it is like pretty into whiskey, and he's talked about like Japanese whiskeys before, and it sounds like they're pretty slept on in like the regular consumer, but they're actually pretty good, which I honestly, I mean, I wouldn't have expected, because you always think like, if you know like a very little about Japan, you always think like sake or whatever. It's like what they've got going on. But they're breaking into the whiskey game pretty hard, it sounds like.
It's good stuff too. Expensive.
Oh yeah,
pretty expensive.
That's how they do it.
Oh yeah.
Where did the obsession with whiskey start for both of you guys, and why turn that into a podcast? I know that's kind of two questions, but
do the pitch, man. We've done this so many times.
Do the pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, to answer the latter question instead of the former, it's really we started the entire show on the antithesis.
Antithesis.
Oh yeah,
I'm trying.
No,
I went to college. I got to do what we got to do.
It was on his word of the day.
Yeah, it's my word of the day. I'm trying to grow. So we started it to just basically. It was pre-pandemic, and we became friends in college, right? And then after college, we both got real jobs, and we're like, we'll never see each other again. Our lives are over with. Like, this is it. Now we're just going to grind until we're 50, and then hopefully make some money and figure it out. And then we decided to start a show, and during the show, why don't we have a glass of a local spirit on, and then whoever watches our ridiculous show can try to guess what's in the glass. Like, it'll be something cool. Well, we started with local options, and then we realized that there's like 7, and we're like, all right, episode 7, like we're good. We're good for like a month and a half. Like, we're going to be fine. And the second episode, we reached out to a distillery in Rochester, and the owner responded, and he goes, yeah, I'll be on your show. And we're like, that's not what we were talking about, like, at all.
We just wanted to drink your stuff,
like,
man.
like, I don't know. So me
we
and
don't
Eric
have
were like,
the equipment to have you on the show.
Yeah. So we're like, all right, well, let's just do it. So we packed everything we've had, and then we drove to Rochester, and then we did a impromptu interview with him at his distillery. And then on the way back, we're like, why don't we just do that? So it bloomed from that initial yes to having any small business we can in Western New York on our show for free for 1 hour to advertise from the business owner's mouth what their purpose is, what their mission is, what their business is all about. And then we never stopped. When the pandemic hit, it was kind of a conversation, but we're just like, we're kind of like, it's too late. Like, we'll just do it. And then we ended up having a lot of different restaurants on, breweries, and then
people that were struggling.
Yeah, people that were struggling. And then it really just kind of helped keep everybody in touch with what was happening in the community, and then hearing the struggles on the back end from the business owners about what they were going through. So that was really cool from our perspective, because I mean, we don't care about like red versus blue or whatever. It's just like, how can we help? And then it just kind of grew from there. And then we never stopped whiskey. Like, it never went away. And I think one of the big things that we pivoted on after about a year and a half is, how do we become a show that's not known as the Whiskey Show? Like, how do we become a actual podcast / show for small businesses to know, like, oh, Buffalo Happy Hour, they're associated with small businesses, and then whiskey second. And I would realistically say from like a year and a half to year 3, we finally figured that out. Like, but it was just because of consistent uploads of just small businesses. And that pivot for us was monstrous, because it opened up so many more doors. And then just different collabs across the board where, like, you guys, you're like, do you want to be on? We're like, absolutely. So it's really cool to see that transition, but it was a struggle at first. But Derek, you can touch on the whiskey part, because that education standpoint was insane.
Yeah. So we tried to, like Mike was saying, since we focus more on small businesses, we wanted to still include whiskey. So we ended up getting certified in whiskey, so we can talk to people more educated. And also, when people are listening to our show, they don't think it's just two random dudes from Buffalo that have a whiskey problem that are telling us about tastes. Like, we're actually somewhat certified in it. So then now we started pivoting to start doing whiskey classes. So we're going to have whiskey classes coming out where we can teach people about whiskey. We've done a bunch of seminars for some companies too, where we just go in and we talk about the different types of whiskey and how to drink it. I mean, our biggest thing is, I don't care how you drink it. I don't care if you pour all your water in it. It's just the process of drinking whiskey that we're happy that you're at least being a part of.
Because I feel like there's a ton of different ways that people drink it too. Like, some people, I know a lot of people that like to put it on the rocks and then let the ice melt down a little bit and then drink it a little bit watered down. I don't know. I don't mind a Jameson and ginger myself. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Dude, those are some good flavors.
It is. I mean, that's my first drink. Jameson and ginger got me into whiskey, and then after Jameson and gingers, I slowly moved from Irish whiskeys I would try neat. It didn't work out. The first thing that I could have neat was a bourbon. So it was a Kentucky bourbon. I had that. And then once I got accustomed to that, then I moved from cocktails to Kentucky bourbon to Rye's. I fell in love with Rye's. And then after Rye's, this Jamoke brought me into Scotch, and then I never looked back. And then it was just like, well, now I can drink everything but you have to build it. It's the same thing with wine, right? Like you start with church wine when you're a kid. You have no clue what's happening, but you can keep up with the adults. And then,
or even beer, dude. You start with lagers and
that's true too.
And then you just jump into like one of my first beers was at Pearl Street, and it was a double IPA. And I'm like, I hate beer forever. Yeah, because it was just so powerful, and I just did not feel good after that.
You gotta start with the Bud Light line, baby. You gotta start with the Bud Light line that your friend's dad gives you in 6th grade, and then you just build up the Guinness.
I had a Keystone Light for the first time probably 4 years, like
really
a month ago.
That used to be like the only thing he drank, by the way. Like I would try and bring like good beer to our parents' house and be like, I got a mini fridge of Keystone, man. I don't need anything else.
It's like $14 for 50 of them.
Yeah, that was why we drank. It's like $9 for a 30-pack. That was why we drank it at the time.
Yeah.
And I had one the other day, and it kind of set me back a little bit because I was like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my entire life. I can't believe I used to drink 12 of these like in one sitting.
Oh, so it didn't bring you back to a happier time?
No,
okay.
it made me upset for that exact reason. I was like, my roommate walked in with them. I'm like, wow, this is something special. We're gonna have a great night.
We're gonna feel young again.
I had one of them, and I was like, no, this is not it.
What's your go-to now?
Well, I'm a big Blue Light guy.
Okay.
My problem is, since I've retired from sports and stuff like that, I've started putting on a little weight, so I've been falling somewhere between like the Mick Ultra and the Miller Lite lately. But I'm not a big Miller Lite guy. I fight through them.
Are you still Bud Light?
No. Fuck no.
Why you say it like that?
Because it's not for me. My favorite beer is probably Guinness, but most of the time I drink. I don't drink a lot of beer. Like usually I'll just drink a whiskey sour if we're going.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm also not a huge alcohol guy in general. Like I'm more of a weed guy. So
for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely not in alcohol at all. Not for me.
Folks, I don't mean to alarm you. I don't mean to raise your heart rate. But Mother's Day is coming up, and it's coming up quick. And we all know how much you've botched it in the past, how much you've disappointed your poor, sweet mother. She loves you so much. This is her day. She's got one day a year. You don't want to blow it. But if you're hearing this right now and you're starting to freak out, don't. Because you can still get something great with Instacart. Because with Instacart, you can get not just groceries, but some of your favorite products from some of your favorite local stores delivered right to your front door in as little as 1 hour. Okay, you could even play into a little bit, right? Like it's Mother's Day morning, everybody wakes up, mom comes downstairs, she's like, oh my gosh, no Mother's Day present. Oh, what's going on? And they'd be like, oh no, I forgot. Next thing you know, doorbell rings. Boom, flowers, boom, chocolates, whatever you need. Okay, your mom's favorite stuff, all delivered right to the front door. You act like you planned it all along. Suddenly, you're her favorite child. She hates all your siblings. You're number one, and it's because you used Instacart, all right? And the best part is right now, Two and the Cooler listeners get free delivery on their first order of $10 or more. All you have to do is hit the link in this episode description, make everything in your life a little bit easier, and start using Instacart today. Folks, a great way to support the show is to actually do something nice for yourself and check out all the sick stuff we've got over at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com. Hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, bucket hats, pint glasses, notebooks, all kinds of really awesome stuff, and also top quality too, okay? Especially the clothes, because I've ordered so many clothes from different shows or different websites or just, things that I want to support, and they come, and it's like that Gildan brand or whatever, and it's absolute dog shit. You can't even wear it. No way. We're not pulling that over at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com, especially the t-shirts, tri-blend material. Folks, you're not going to get that anywhere else. So again, check out all that great stuff. We've got things not just for this show, but also for Schemin' and Dreamin' and Quested, the other two podcasts that we produce right here. So again, get yourself something nice over at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com, and it's a great way to support the show. Just hit the link in this episode description. And if you're interested in advertising on this show or our twin show, Schemin' and Dreamin', or Quested, the Dungeons & Dragons podcast that we produce right here, you can email us at snackspotsports@gmail.com for details on how you can start reaching thousands of listeners in the Buffalo area and beyond, because podcasting obviously has become big, and podcast advertising, you know, these really large companies like McDonald's, NASCAR advertising on podcasts, it's crazy, State Farm, they're recognizing how effective podcast advertising can be, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One thing being, more people are now listening to podcasts than there are watching like the local news and that stuff, and that's kind of the point. Is like it's cool to see these big companies moving away from traditional media into the podcasting space, but it hasn't left enough room for smaller local businesses to get in on the action and understand how effective podcast advertising can really be for a business. But that's why we're here. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about all the benefits to podcast advertising, and you probably should be, again, you can email us at snackspotsports@gmail.com.
So the tool in the cooler, did that come from just...
Oh, that's our... it was something our uncle said, because he had this big party at his house one day, and the last person left as like the sun was coming up, and our uncle was kind of cleaning up the backyard a little bit. He opens up the cooler, and there's only 2 beers left, so he's like, well, there's only 2 in the cooler. I got to finish them and watch a sunrise. So that's, you know, he finished off the last 2 beers before he went to bed. And
yeah. So that was his thing. He's like, you can't leave 2 in the cooler.
Can't leave 2 in the cooler.
So we started saying it all the time, and then we decided to start the show, and we were like, we should call it 2 in the cooler.
Yeah. It's a pretty
kind of fit like a
dumb
glove.
story about like how we actually like decided on that name. Because I literally texted Matthew, "Do you want to do a podcast?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Yes." I was like, "Do you want to call it 2 in the cooler?" He's like, "Sure, that sounds good."
But the origin of the name is the better part of the story.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I like that.
What was the premise of the show when you guys first started? Did it change at all?
Well, so it's kind of a little bit similar to what happened with you guys in the sense of we started right as the pandemic started. So it was like March of whatever 2020 it was, and I was about to graduate, and then our school shut down. Everything went online. I moved like back in with our parents. Andrew's in Rochester at the time, and as all this is kind of going on, is when he texted me and was like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" And we knew we didn't really have to decide what it was going to be about, because we kind of have a lot of like opposite personality traits, which as we do the show, it turns out we found out we're way more similar, I would say, but we always had different interests growing up, even though we were only 15 months apart. So until Andrew went to college, he moved to Florida when I was still in high school. You know, we never got along. We were just like regular brothers. We just beat the hell out of each other every day and not talk. And then when he moved to Florida, all that changed. So it kind of came together right as the pandemic hit, and we were like, it gives us an opportunity to hop on and do something once a week. And it all started on Zoom.
Yeah.
And we would just get on and just kind of shoot the shit about like what was going on in, I guess, both our worlds, right? He would always bring like a kind of a movie aspect at first, me the sports kind of side of things, and then we just wanted to have people on. Like we just wanted to have people on that we thought could come on and talk to us and tell stories, and that people would enjoy listening to at first. And then it turned into, you know, we started meeting people, you know, kind of like you guys, but I think it really started in like the music scene, like the Buffalo music scene, and people with other things to promote. And as we started to have more and more of those people on, we realized like it's awesome because we can come on, we can kind of help each other out at the same time. And it's great conversation because they have something to talk about and they have a story behind why they're where they are now.
Yeah. And also I would say like the one thing we try to push, I'm sorry to talk about us so much right now.
Oh, you're good.
But it's like, especially with musicians, because musicians, like, you know, a lot of times they're pretty cool people to talk to. But if you're a musician doing an interview, typically you're going to be asked the same 5 questions every fucking time. So the best part is when we have people on who do, you know, music or something, and we can talk about other stuff aside from just like, well, how'd you get into this or whatever, and like all the, you know, who are your biggest influences and like all that like shit, which, you know, is like, I mean, people, you know, they want. I assume if you're an artist, you want to talk about that to a certain extent, but like it gets to a point where it's also we're in a time now where podcast is a perfect example where, it's not just a 7-minute Tonight Show couch interview. It's like these long conversations where, you're getting to really see who people are. People are buying into people more than ever. They're buying into people more so than they're even buying into their art, be it music or whatever. So, that's really like the number one thing is like
That's interesting. You guys had the similar issue with the music artists because when when COVID was kind of settling down, we got to a point, and that's kind of where our second kind of transition happened because we were getting sick of asking people how their chicken is different from the last person's chicken. So same type of thing is like you can ask somebody like a music artist how they got started over and over again, but eventually you're going to run into a roadblock where it's like, okay, no one really cares anymore. So that's when we transitioned to marketing. So now we're a video production company where we'll go to a business and make a commercial for them. So that's kind of when that second transition happened that I think changed us as a brand a little bit more than anything else.
No doubt. Yeah. And I think it was really fun for us because it allowed us to be creative again for the first time in a long time. So we could kind of branch out and do things a little bit differently. Like we recorded a mocktail event. It was 2 years ago when the first one dropped. So Nickel City Pretty, shout out. She hosted this mocktail competition at Hartman's, and she asked us to record the entire thing. And we're like, all right, sweet. And then we posted it, had fun. It was awesome content. And then we were just like, is there going to be another one? Didn't hear anything. It skips a year, and then she brings it back. And then she goes, yeah, we're definitely going to do the competition, but I'm going to be on the news promoting it. And they're asking, like, do we have any footage? So can we use your footage? So they used our footage on the news, like the legitimate news, and we're just like, just shout us out somehow. Yeah. And we're just like on the screen, and it's like courtesy Buffalo Happy Hour, and I'm flipping out. I'm just like sending it to every friend, family. I'm just like, do you see this? Like, this is insanity. And
ties right back into that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're like, no, that's weird. Like, that's really weird. I'm like, oh, we're on. That's channel 2.
Yeah.
Like, that's channel
2, baby.
Yeah. I'm like, that's crazy to see, but it's just really cool for us because now hopefully like more businesses see stuff like that and they're like, yeah, swing down because we're just two dudes trying to figure it out and help.
And that's awesome. And do you guys have like a production kind of background, or was it all just like we like this, we're just going to kind of learn it on the fly?
Dude, we have no background. All of our background. So we both went to school for criminal justice.
Okay.
What? We have no idea about production, podcasts, TVs, nothing.
None.
And we just went to YouTube University. And
I like these guys.
Right. Yeah. Just figure it out. Because at the end of the day, it's not difficult. Like you just got to spend the 7 minutes and critically think and struggle through that for a little bit. Like for me, it's about the first 5.5 minutes. He's good after like 2 minutes. I don't understand it. That's why I sat next to him in Excel. Yeah. But I just, you just figure it out. Like at the end of the day, if it's on you, you'll learn really quick. And that's kind of cool to struggle through. But
especially if you're passionate about it. Yeah. Like you can learn so much better when you actually have an interest in the topic that you're learning, which is crazy that you never find that out in school. It always happens after school where you're like, oh, I'm actually not passionate about this thing that I thought I spent all my money on. Yeah. I'm actually passionate about this thing.
Yeah. You care, like if you care about something, it's just so much. It's like the old adage, like it's so hard to get up sometimes at 6 o'clock in the morning if you have to go to work or something. But if you're getting up at 6 o'clock to like do something that you love to do, like
golf. I do it all the time.
You pop out of bed, like even if you're out the night before, boom, you're out of bed, you're absolutely firing on all cylinders. Like it's that you're cooking breakfast.
So you went to school for TV though, right? Or production or something?
Broadcast.
Yeah, he's a poser of the hard, of the hard work.
So did you know eventually that you wanted to do some sort of media of your own?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people, I thought I was gonna do like movie making and stuff. And then I got to school, and the first school I went to, especially down in Florida, I was like, I actually kind of hate this, and I kind of hate the whole energy of being around all of this. So when I transferred to Fredonia, I still went for like broadcasting because that's the only thing I don't know. It just seemed like the easiest thing to do, sure. And it was impossibly easy. Like it's a scam that I got a degree from that school. Especially my fiance, she went to University of Michigan for nursing, and even now she's like getting her master's degree, and it's like so involved. And I was like, I mean, I went to class a couple times a week and like for TV and stuff. But so after school, then I worked at the CBS affiliate in Rochester for a while. So, because it's like when you go to school for that stuff, you either have to like be unemployed for a while and try and get like production assistant jobs on, wherever you can, or you can work at one of these TV stations, which, is kind of a dying industry and stuff. And a lot of people who work there sometimes are not always like they've been there for a while, and they can be a little curmudgeon-y, I guess, about some stuff. That's a good word. I worked in master control, so basically I was watching TV news all day, and like a lot of people in the building, and a lot of my coworkers who funny people, I love them, but they were like super cynical and stuff. And that's kind of what happens when you live in that media cycle like that, and it can really take a toll on, I think, your mental health. Then it starts to get to you kind of physically, because you just feel like shit all the time. So this is way better, and it's a lot of the same. Just got to know how all the cameras and shit go together, and then boom, you're off to the races. Yeah.
What'd you go to school for?
I went to school. I got pretty much 2 degrees. One's in sport management. Well, I do have 2 degrees, but one's in sport management and the other one's in sport product development.
Oh, look at you. Okay.
Yeah. So again, same thing. I loved what I went to school for. It was absolutely awesome. I shouldn't say that. I had to take 2 accounting classes to graduate, and they were fucking brutal. I was so bad at it. That and finite math. And I'm not bad at math, but math, when again, like you're saying, when you have to sit in a classroom for an hour and 45 minutes and listen to somebody talk about how you're supposed to solve a problem on a chalkboard, I'm absolutely dialed out. There's no way I'm retaining a single piece of information that he's giving me. But the other aspect of that, like the core classes that I took for my, programs and stuff, were unbelievable. And you learn so much more through classes like that. We would take, research development classes that were sports based, right? So it's all, you're sorting through tons of data. You're pretty much, doing, it's not quite data analytics, but a lower level form, the old version before we knew how to, get all this information out of data and hack everybody's phones and know everything that they love and whatnot. And just based off of studies pretty much, and you're conducting studies and going through this data stuff that sounds super boring in my opinion, but when you're doing it, it's about why people go to the Olympics in China versus in Russia, whatever it is. It's oh, that's kind of cool to know, because now when you're sitting there watching the Olympics and you're thinking oh, I know why these people are here. If you're a sports fan, right?
Sure.
Again, it's what are you passionate about? I've always loved sports, so it was kind of easy for me. I also have to say, and I was thinking this while Andrew was talking, I love when we have people on that also do podcasts, because it makes it so easy to talk to you guys.
Oh, good.
Halfway through this podcast, I don't know if you guys realize this, but you started hosting the show.
Oh yeah, no,
but in a great way. It was awesome. No.
We will let you interview us. We are
we will
happy
talk.
to do that.
We will do that all day long. We will talk. Me specifically will talk until there's no end. So it was, but I really do like it. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah.
And I will. On that, I wasn't necessarily going to say this, but first things first, you guys are right up on mic, whereas typically it's a lot of.
It's bad, right?
Yeah, it's a toughest thing. It's the toughest part about it is
you're guy, just stay close.
Yeah. It's.
I wouldn't know that though either. In everybody else's defense, I would. Again, I have no.
No, I know, knowledge. But it's you kind of get further away from it.
Do you ever get this?
As the show goes on? Oh, I'll do that shit. I will do that shit all the time.
And they're so rigid. You're dude, just breathe.
Yeah.
Don't collapse.
Well, again,
that'll happen sometimes too. But that's also kind of the fun challenge of podcasting. Sometimes is when you're interviewing somebody who's like that. It's I like to, as the show goes on, see how much we can get them to loosen up. Because again, show that side of their personality that they're not showing anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's always
fun.
That's
that's why Rogan takes people out to dinner first. Break them down beforehand, and then they're all loosey in the studio.
I don't know if we have the budget for that, but maybe it's something we look into in the future.
I think you do. You guys got an awesome setup.
Yeah,
we thought ours was good.
Well,
yours is better.
Where do you guys record? Do you have?
We built a place in my garage.
Oh, that's cool though.
Yeah.
That's
Again,
It's
hard
gotta
work.
be nice.
Yeah.
We didn't know what was going on. We're just like, we'll build a wall. And then we're just like, we can't build a wall because we don't know how to do that. And we're like, who do we know that knows how to do that? And then he's like, my wife's dad knows how to do that. And I'm like, we're going to call him immediately. And we did.
We need a wall. I'll bring one right now. I've got a bunch of walls. I got a bunch of walls in the back, actually. I wasn't going to use them, so.
It was so funny because he's like, where do you want it? We're like, we're thinking here. And he's like, okay. And he starts building it on the floor. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, we're building a wall. I was like, we're on the floor. And he goes, well, right, we're going to stand it up. Yeah. And I'm like,
A wall does start somewhere. Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And he's just staring at me. He's like, God help us all. I'm like, just let me know what I'd have to buy at Home Depot. But like, send me a photo of what I need to buy so I buy the right thing.
But that's a cool setting too, and like, you know, just the whole visual aspect of it. I love stuff like that, and people say that to us sometimes. They come in here and they're like, wow, these lights, and it's like, yeah, they're probably gonna make you sweat a little bit, but other than that, like, there's
super
nothing
hot right now. Is the fan actually on, Emily? Is it on low? Is it going?
That
Will
could
you put
also
it
be
on?
Andrew. That
Thank you.
could also be, you know, the whiskey.
I've just been running
You
hot.
do run
today.
hot.
I've been running
you run,
hot.
You run
today.
naturally hot.
Yeah. I run a
But
little hot.
and that's, you know, again, it kind of goes back to what you guys let us talk about your show. That's, you know, you guys have that dynamic, right? You're talking to people that have something to promote, right? They're there for a reason, and it's all local, which makes it kind of a little bit more important to you guys too, being in this, you know, in the same scene. And at the same time, you're sitting back casually, you know, whether you're enjoying a drink or just hanging out. It makes it easy to have that conversation when you're talking to people like that.
Yeah, unless they're nervous, then you really have to pull the information out of them.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that people don't know how much they know about what they love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, one, if you bullshit with me, I won't know because I don't know how to do this. So you can be lying to me and I'll just agree with you. I'm an agreeable person. We'll go here. But if you start getting people that are nervous and are unsure about things, that's when it gets a little bit difficult because it's like, you know this, and how do I put confidence in you to be able to talk about this?
Yeah.
And that's the challenge as a host, you know?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes people also don't realize how interesting it actually is to hear somebody talk about something that they're passionate about or know a lot about. Like, even when I listen to other podcasts all the time, if somebody really starts getting into something, like one example I can remember specifically is this dude who is super into the Magic the Gathering like card game, and he starts explaining kind of the intricacies, not just of the prices of these cards, but of like that community and how kind of intense those dudes can be. And he kept going like, is this boring? But I was like riveted, and he talked about it like in depth for 15 minutes. And like, that's a thing, you know, like it's just fun to hear ideas that you haven't necessarily thought of yourself before, and to just talk to people who are passionate about, honestly, anything. Like, if you get somebody who's super passionate about baking soda, like, that's probably interesting enough. I mean, maybe.
And it's the same thing, like I said to you guys earlier. I'll drink whiskey. If people are like, oh, let's get a bourbon or whatever, same thing. Whatever somebody's, you know, drinking. If somebody had to ask me myself, I would say, you know, one of the four that probably everybody says. Yeah. But it's, you mentioned rye earlier. Like, I've tried it. I don't really like it. Whereas I don't mind a bourbon, or, you know, if I'm drinking, like I said, Irish whiskey or something like that. I don't know what the difference is. I just know that I like the taste of one and not the taste of the other.
Yep.
Which is all that really matters, right? You just need a friend to guide you.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here. We're friends.
No, and I appreciate it. Yeah, this is fantastic. Now I know.
It's kind of cool to hear you guys say that sort of thing, because with whiskey, like a lot of things, I feel like there's a lot of dudes who might consider themselves like quote unquote purist and stuff, where they're like, you know, you have to drink it like this or you can't drink it like that. But the best approach for any of this thing is like, you know, anything you can do to just get more people interested in it, right?
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
what you guys are all about.
If someone is a purist and they're telling you the first time they ever tried whiskey was neat, they're lying to you, because everybody starts with a cocktail.
Yeah.
If you were just fed whiskey neat and someone was just like, try this is your first time ever, I highly doubt that that's a lot of people. Would you agree?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, everyone orders an old fashioned. They're like, this is decent. I like the spice with this.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's more how people are interested in this, or just like a huge mound of rocks. Because if you're trying this for the first time, most people are going to be like, I'll take some ice. This is too hot for me.
Yeah.
First time I ever had whiskey actually was pretty late. I think I was a senior in high school, and my buddy was moving to Arkansas. So for like his last night,
He was kind of from there.
Yeah. His dad lived down there,
Yeah.
so he was going to like live with his dad and go to school down there.
You
So yeah,
gotta
that's
lead with
dude.
that.
Where he lives now,
it's Arkansas,
buddy.
It's crazy.
Now he lives in Missouri because
yeah.
his dad moved back to the town he was from, and my buddy went with him with the whole family. So there's this town in Missouri. It's called Stover. It's about this big. There's like one street and there's 2 quilt stores on Main Street. Like that's it's so fucking small, this place. But we, for like his send off, my one friend thought it'd be cool to get Southern Comfort because he's going down south.
Mm-hmm.
So we got this big bottle of Southern Comfort and we got like regular like milk glasses and we poured them full, and we didn't know that you like weren't necessarily supposed to drink it straight. So we were like down in his basement playing ping pong, drinking these mugs basically of Southern Comfort and sipping it like, this is fucking gross. but we did it like that. So we're like, oh, this is
nobody wanted to be the guy.
It's like
I'm
Kool-Aid.
sure
Like you drink it
yeah.
like you drink it like Kool-Aid or lemonade. You just take it out of the pitcher and pour yourself a glass.
Okay.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
So no one died.
No, but we got pretty hammered. Somebody threw up a Firehouse sub.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's just again.
that's just
that's a
for
Tuesday.
lay of the
So
land.
I would say I was not like that, but the first whiskey I ever truly enjoyed was Evan Williams. Like I loved it mostly because it was like Jack Daniels, but a quarter of the price.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is unbelievable. I would drink it all the time in college. I'd mix it with Dr. Pepper or whatever it was, to the point where I genuinely enjoyed it. COVID hit and I moved back in with our parents. And so it was just me, my mom, and my dad. Andrew, like I said, was in Rochester. And again, once restaurants opened for like takeout and stuff, it was always like, oh, where should we get takeout or whatever? And my opportunity to get out of the house was to be the one who went and picked up the food. So I'd go pick up the food every day, and then like once a week, stop at the liquor store on the way home because of course they were still open. Buy a bottle of Evan Williams, go home, and then make it last a couple days. Like sit there, play Xbox, have a couple drinks. Fast forward, I go down to Florida with my dad, like right at when Florida started opening, but New York was still closed, and so we go down to Florida. And we go to this restaurant that's open. It's like the first restaurant we've been to in like 6 months or whatever. And they were partially like a whiskey bar. They had a bunch of different whiskeys. And our dad enjoys bourbon, so he's looking at orders of bourbon. So I'm looking at the list. And they sold Evan Williams at this restaurant. So I'm like, I need an Evan Williams stat. Bring it right here. And he damn near slapped me across the face. And I was like, listen, you're never going to change me, Father. You're never going to change me.
I was just telling somebody the first time I ever saw our dad drunk, because our dad has always been a wine guy, very into wine. Like he keeps a notebook of things and stuff, and he's very interested. And then a couple years ago, I want to say like maybe my freshman year of college, he started to try and get into bourbon in that way, because you can do kind of the same thing, like you guys are talking about, a lot of different flavors, notes. You can from drink to drink, you can learn a lot of stuff, really get into it. So he one Christmas Eve broke out a bunch of bourbon that he wanted to try and stuff. And my parents always have this big Christmas Eve party. So after everybody left, Big Jer had been hitting it a little harder than usual. Because he wasn't used to it, So he, first time I've ever seen him drunk in our entire lives, he's sitting in this big chair, and everybody from the party is gone except for us and my aunt and uncle. And we're kind of all talking. And then all of a sudden my dad just starts screaming, "Alexa! Play Hootie! Alexa, play Hootie, Volume 10! Hootie and the Blowfish!" And my friends and I still yell that all the time. It was so funny. And Alexa wasn't listening to him, but eventually we got the Hootie blasting. It was a very Hootie Christmas that year. That's one of my favorite memories.
Shout out Hootie.
Shout out Hootie, dude.
Did you guys have absolute ragers growing up? Like, what was your house setup? Did you have a ranch where it's like not within capacity, or so just for reference, we had a Christmas rager every year growing up. It was a ranch. It's like 1,600 square feet, right? 120 people. Wow. Like shoulder to shoulder, like you can't move, right? So like if you're standing for 3 hours. There's one bathroom, like
everybody's pissing in the corner.
Yeah, like, and then like the basement was finished, right? So they had like a finished area with like a pool table. shoulder to shoulder, like enough room to play
Yeah.
around a pool, and it's just everyone's blitz. Like if you got to smoke, you go outside, free reign, and the kids are just trying to figure it out. No one knows what's happening. There's crock pots that are just never on low, like all the food's
Yeah.
burnt.
Funny,
Yeah.
dude.
Right, like
that's a pretty accurate representation.
a
It was
great
a
call.
little bit different for us because we were some of the youngest of all the cousins. Like probably we had like one other group of cousins because we had
We
a
are
big
the
family.
youngest
Yeah, we
cousins.
pretty much are the youngest cousins.
We're like
So-
almost closer to our cousins' kids' age.
Yeah.
In some aspects than we are to them.
So by the time we were like a little bit older, though, I remember like they would like kick us in the basement, lock the door, and like
yeah.
they'd throw us down like a couple pieces of like ham once they carved it.
Yeah, from
and
the
like
deli
that.
platter.
Yeah, that's what we got. And by the time we were older, it kind of flipped a little bit where love all our parents and all our aunts and uncles, but now they're a little bit older, so they can't necessarily do it like they used to. So you get like maybe half of them like this is my night, and the other half are like, oh, I did it too much last night, like I gotta take it easy. So
There was that one because there are other relatives. Our parents would have the Christmas Eve party on the 23rd. There was a party that was like 18 and up only or whatever, and there was, I think, the first year that you got to go to that, or maybe the last year that it happened. Everybody that's all like our older cousins and all our parents and our aunts and uncles and stuff, and we got them hammered that trip.
No, that wasn't
don't
me.
you remember?
No, I
we were
couldn't have been
singing.
there.
We fucking sang the entire 12 days of Christmas. We all like.
I don't think I
screamed
was
that
there.
together. Well, you missed out. 'Cause
Yeah,
it was
see?
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was a lot of fun.
Back to the whiskey though. Yeah, see, I don't think I was there. I think I was one
Yeah,
year
you
too
probably
young.
remember it.
We talked a little bit about like our first experience with whiskey. You guys touched on it a little bit, but when was it like, oh, this is something like I really, really love to drink? Did it? I know it happened before the show, but when did it kind of snap in where that made you want to, outside of the show, that made you want to learn more?
When was
about
your
it?
guys' first glass
Yeah.
of Southern Comfort?
Yeah.
My first glass of not Southern Comfort, it was actually Seagram 7.
Oh,
That might be. Yeah,
Hi,
that's probably
caramba.
It was a band, one of my favorite bands, Silverstein. I don't know if you heard of them, but they have a song called Vices, and the chorus of that is a 7-7 with a lime will keep me safe. And I was like, this is awesome, and I need to have a glass of 7-7 with a lime right now because it's going to keep me safe. That was my first ever whiskey drink. And then transitioning to Scotch, my buddy Steve, who lives in Ohio now, he would come over, we'd watch The Walking Dead all the time, and then he would bring a bottle of, I think he bought me a bottle of McClellan, which is a very cheap Scotch. And very smoky. Completely turned me off from Scotch for a very long time, and now it's my favorite. But that's kind of my first introduction into straight whiskey, was during our Walking Dead sessions, probably circa 2014, 15. That's when I got into
When
it
the
hard.
Walking Dead was big.
That's very.
Oh, yeah.
That feels like a very manly scene. Watching The Walking Dead.
Right? It's like, let's see zombies.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
interesting.
You
I
knew
did-
that.
I mean, yeah, but like The Walking Dead was good for 4 episodes.
Yeah, back in 2013.
It had like I think it had about 3 good seasons, but
Are you serious?
See,
was
okay,
good.
so you might remember
liked
this
it,
if you were a
yeah.
fan. Season 3 was, I think, the first season they did a split season. They came out with like the first 12 episodes,
Yeah.
then they took like 6 months off, and then another 12, but it was still season 3.
Was that when Herschel died, or was that
Yeah, I
season
think,
2?
and that's when they lost me. Yeah, I think that's when it was, and I was like, I can't keep up with it. I think it's still on. I think they still
it's
make
I
basically
new
think,
still
episodes.
going
I think
on.
it's off, but one of the spin-offs might still be.
Fear the Walking Dead?
Yeah. I think that might still be on.
Lame.
That show was Garbo.
Hey,
Walking Dead.
Listen,
yeah.
But I never saw it.
If you knew, we have a bad taste in, I would say, all-time favorite shows. It's mostly USA programs, which are fantastic.
not a
Most
bad,
people would
not a
disagree.
bad thing.
And then,
Psych.
like,
Yeah, like
yes,
Psych.
Psych, unbelievable
Okay,
show.
I don't know if I like how you said that. Actually, Derek, what do you mean?
Well,
Elaborate
to me, it's
no. I need to
yeah.
know if Derek likes Psych or not.
I actually never watched it. I
oh,
just saw
it's,
that.
fucking, it's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
To me, it's White Collar, Psych, Monk.
White Collar is
White
awesome.
Collar is
Burn
one
up.
of the greatest
I would
shows
do-
Thank
ever.
you. See,
White
talk on
Collar's
board.
good, but it's not Monk. White
No,
Collar's
You can
cool, but
excuse
it's not
yourself from
Monk.
your own studio.
Yeah, I agree.
Dude, Adrian Monk. If I ever find the bastards that killed Trudy Monk, I swear
And
to
you
God,
know what?
they're
Honestly,
gonna have to deal with
like,
me.
I remember I was young
Monk's a
when I
king.
first
Monk's a
watched
king.
White Collar. Like I don't know when it started, but it started like I don't know, mid 2000s.
You know the
2011
backstory, right?
or 12.
We talk all the time about how we would do questionable things at Matt Bomer, though. Oh my
God.
Very
Oh,
proud of
yeah.
that.
I mean, they're not questionable. They're very direct and very specific. There is a plan and it is outlined.
Explicit.
I say all the time,
Yeah.
if I could like erase one thing from my memory, it would be White Collar, and I would go back and I would rewatch White Collar.
It's so good.
You know the backstory of the show, correct?
No.
Have
I'm
you-
uneducated.
Have you ever seen the movie Catch Me If You Can?
Yes, yes.
Okay, it's that.
Yeah, I
So
Just
Frank has
making
two
sure
and
you
two
knew.
together.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Because what? Totally random, but when Derek and I first met, two people fell in love, right? So when we first met, we had very questionable professors at oh yeah, make sure she's set.
Oh, because
Yeah, she's busy working.
Yeah.
I just want to make
So
sure.
yeah, I got you. So we had what are you doing?
Face is getting red, Emily.
So we had
Keep your job. Don't lose your job right now.
some of the professors were very questionable. Okay, we were there for a short stint. We were there for 2 years. We upped our GPA. We transferred out. Okay, it was a stepping stone. Saved some money. It was a great move. One of the professors, while we were there, was not shady. He was a total bro, awesome dude. His son was actually an FBI agent and ended up getting on their SWAT team, and I'm super into all that stuff, so I basically hammered him with a ton of questions because that was just like, that's what I want to do in the world. Like, that's it.
Yep.
So his son ended up being very successful, and then he invited his dad down to Quantico to be a part of a presentation for Frank Abagnale Jr., and that is the actual dude that Catch Me If You Can is made after. So for those who have absolutely no clue, the uncultured swine listening, Frank Abagnale Jr. from Catch Me If You Can they're fine, they can handle it.
I've said way worse.
I
to
will
him.
agree. I'm
Yeah.
going to agree with Mike on that one because that movie fucking rules.
It does
Oh, yeah.
rule.
it's
So
Leo.
yeah, absolutely. With Tom Hanks. So Frank
no one
in
else
real life is essentially a massive fraud and con artist, and he eventually got caught by the FBI, was on a work for release program, and then the FBI brought him in as an agent to then help them catch people who was doing the same stuff as he was, counterfeiting checks, credit cards, what have you. So long story short, they make the movie Catch Me If You Can, it booms, and then they make a spin-off show series called White Collar with an even better-looking main character. And when I was just like, this is very similar to Catch Me If You Can. Like, that's kind of a cool premise. But when I learned they were synced, I'm like, well, that's a great thing. And then the FBI agent in the show, they have a family yellow lab. And I'm like, well, this is it. And his wife's adorable.
Yeah, and it's Kelly Kapowski.
Kelly
Which
Kapowski.
is, again,
Yeah,
Smoke
big
show.
reason, yeah.
Smoke
What's her real
show.
name?
It
Tiffany
just-
something.
Tiffany Thiessen.
Okay, that's in your search
She's in
history.
my journal.
Yeah.
for sure.
That's bookmarked. That is, how is that not bookmarked? You can't just know that.
This is
That was quick off the draw. That was very quick off the
one
draw. That
of
was in his pocket.
the happiest moments of my life. You guys brought us whiskey to drink, and we're talking about our passion for White Collar. This is a fantastic day.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I could have never seen this day going like this, except I kind of a little bit did, minus the White Collar. But
How did you guys find us?
Instagram. Saw you guys on Instagram.
And you thought we were short?
Yeah. Well, I didn't think you were
in
short.
short.
I thought you were.
Yeah. I
shorter
thought you guys
than
were.
you
I thought
are.
you guys were both
like
super
in the
tall.
Instagram
Yeah.
clips. You just seemed shorter.
We got to change our angle.
Yeah, I think you got to.
Well, everything's mounted. So in our studio, we have zero space. So
Yeah.
it's like basically.
come on, give us some credit. It's nice.
Okay, so it's probably like from here to the wall,
Yeah.
like that wide.
Well,
and
that's
then
the
probably
other
the
thing.
same
Like you
distance.
can't tell that
Yeah.
if it is that small. You know.
So we mounted everything. We have the cameras mounted. We have the lights mounted. We
cool.
have everything mounted to save space. But we're working through a little studio redo right now.
We got some things in the works.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We
Back-
need some money first.
Back to the White
Yeah.
Collar conversation. Just
Obviously,
I had one
this
I had
is-
one
this
thing to
is the
close up.
podcast
I had one
now.
thing to close up.
podcast.
It never occurred to me, but tell me if I'm, and I could be wrong, but I don't know how familiar you guys are. Like if you've rewatched it multiple times, I'm sure you have. But the very first episode of White Collar, when Neil escapes prison the first time, and he goes to the airport, he gets the yellow jacket from the guy on the street, goes to
valet.
the airport, steals a valet. Does that not somewhat happen in Catch Me If You Can too?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I never put those two things together until you just
Yeah,
laid it out
that's
for me.
true.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Because they are like the exact same.
And that first episode of White Collar is unmatched when he goes to the like consignment shop and meets June and ends up in all the
yeah.
suits, it's like, of course, it's right then and there, Neil Caffrey's the guy. Like he's
Every single time I put on a suit, I'm like, will Neil Caffrey approve of
I think
the
the same
space
thing.
between my suit and my
You know
shirt?
what I always think about is that one episode where I think they're doing like one of those bachelor auctions, and he talks about how you're supposed to hold your glass in your left hand. But then there's that part where he like Peter like shakes that woman's hand, and she's like, "Woo!" Like it's so
Makes it
cold.
super obvious.
Yeah, a little
I mean,
bit. But I do think about that.
There's a
all
lot
the
of
time.
green screens in there too, where I'm like, that's definitely a fake background for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
But with the production mind we kind of got going on.
Oh,
here.
sure, of course.
Relax.
We're kind of
Tone
in
down.
tune to that sort of. We noticed a lot of things that like normies might not actually recognize. When it comes to cinema and stuff. But
That is the etiquette, though. You do know that, right? If you're
Oh,
at
yeah.
a social setting, do you know this?
I know it from white collar.
If you're in a
yeah.
social setting and you are open to meeting somebody and having a conversation with them, you keep your drink in your left hand because you shake with your right. If you're busy, you keep your drink in your right hand because now you're occupied and you can't switch to shake hands.
Yeah.
It's a subliminal message that you're giving off. Another great show is Lie to Me.
Oh,
Yes.
I remember that show.
So
Familiar.
if
Have
you've
you
ever
watched
seen
it?
Lie to Me,
Only a
you're
little
gonna
bit.
Okay.
you're gonna pick up a lot of different things in that show as well, which are really good to have when it comes to building street smarts.
See, I
Just saying
did
that
I-
and Prison Break.
I didn't give myself enough credit on the shows that I love because I feel like you guys would be right on board, except for NCIS. I lose everybody at NCIS.
Yeah,
I
never
mean,
was a fan of that.
the initial seasons weren't bad. It was better than CSI because then CSI
Yes.
got like way too fake, and it's like we'll just stick with Forensic Files and keep it OG.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
why
No,
are
and I
they
love
killing their
Forensic
spouse
Files.
for
Yeah.
insurance money? What about Prison Break?
Prison Break was a good show. I kind of got caught in that back end where I was too late to it, and then they took it off Netflix, so I never have watched it all the way through, but a bunch of my buddies are obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I was always a Criminal Minds guy. Like, that was my go-to.
Hell yeah.
That, like, whole, behavioral analysis thing would just fire me up. Like, I loved it.
Yep.
Yeah. Like,
That was one of my ideas as a career path coming out of high school.
be in the
because of
BAU,
that
that
show.
would be fucking sick,
Yeah.
dude. That would be really, really cool.
Yeah, did you guys ever get jobs actually in
No,
criminal?
I didn't.
I mean, I work in cybersecurity now, but
Oh, cool.
I did money laundering investigations for a little bit too, so kind of a little bit, but it's for a financial institution. It's not for. Back when I was like right out of college, I wanted to be a homicide detective, so I had a internship with a local police department, and we were like, he's like, hey, yeah, this guy just killed himself. There's the body. I'm like, all right, sweet. So I don't want to do this.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Good times though.
I have a lot of friends that are police officers and stuff like that, and it's not an easy job.
Not anymore.
No.
It's just I'm happy where we are.
Yeah.
Because even if you're a police officer, it's tough to do a podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've had a couple police officers on our show. We've never announced that they were police officers. We had one of my good friends from college ended up becoming a lawyer, and there was actually some things that we had. Well, there was 2 times that we've had people kind of in that field that we've had to actually either change something like mid-episode or months down the line be like, hey, can we go back and kind of scrub some stuff just in case people look. And nothing bad, but just in their mind, like, I don't really want to have an internet profile. Like, I just want to be nowhere, right? Like, I'd rather them, see my Twitter and see dumb tweets from when I was 12 and think that's, and that be the only basis that they have.
So does that weird you guys out at all, that literally you're recording every single week of your life?
No.
Yeah,
Not
we're in
even
the
a
same
little
boat.
bit.
We don't care
Yeah.
either.
We,
I've said some quash things.
Never thought about that before.
Yeah.
oh my God.
Okay,
yeah.
so the 4 of us will never run for office,
No.
and now she's guilty, so she's not running for
Yeah.
office either.
No.
Yeah,
No.
no.
And
not for me.
I came to that, like, and it was funny. Like,
Hell
for
yeah.
the longest time, I love the job that I have, and I've never talked about it. Just not that I couldn't, but just because
We're
I
the
don't
same
want
way,
to.
yeah.
Yeah, you're fine.
But like for the first time, and I never even said anything. I was never like, hey, by the way, everybody that I work with, like, I have a podcast.
Right.
But they
And,
just found out
Like
the other week.
recently, after some time, they found out, and now it's kind of been like this whole running thing at my office where like they'll bring up stuff from episodes and like ask me questions about it or try to give me ideas.
Does it make you feel weird, or are you happy that they're listening?
A little bit of both. Like, I think it's funny, like, I appreciate it, and they're like not being mean about it
Right.
either. Like, I work with all great people, so they're all just like actually.
You're
know,
just saying
like,
that because they're listening.
No, I really do. Like I really genuinely enjoy where I work and the people that I work with, and that's kind of why I like to keep the two separate.
Yeah.
But you do have to kind of, I think, to do like a good podcast, you kind of have to forget that people are listening.
Yeah,
you know
because
Oh yeah.
and that's like I don't get weirded out by it, but I do think sometimes like I don't know if you guys are this way. I never go back and listen to our show. Like when I come across our clips, not because I don't think they're good, but I just don't like to listen to myself talk. I'm like, this kid is such an idiot. Can't believe other people listen to this
God,
right now.
all he
You know what I
talks
mean?
about
It's just
is
like
NCIS.
What's
Neil
crazy
Caffrey.
is so many people in like just immediate friends and family that are like the avid, they'll never not listen.
Yeah.
They'll reference something that I said, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, what? And they stare at you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you literally said this. And I'm like, I don't remember what happened because we recorded that like 2 months ago and it just dropped.
Yeah.
So like, okay. So now I almost have to, because when it goes live, I'm going to get questions or like, how did you not, Michael, how did you not remember? We talked about that at St. Bonnie's. You were, religion's very important. I'm like, listen, like I'm 30. Okay. Yeah. All of that happened and it's comedic relief. I was 9. Okay. Yeah. I don't remember. I don't know those things. I didn't read. You asked me to. I didn't do it. I fell asleep. I didn't read that verse. I didn't read that Bible. And now you expect me to know at 30 years old?
Bro, what a specific example.
Yeah, not like this actually happened.
No, I have the exact same thing.
So just to round that out, it was like 3 episodes about religion, and we knew nothing about religion, and the religious people in our families were reaching out, and they're just like, how do you not know this? I'm like, because we're not religious. Like, I'm not going on Sundays, fam.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Maybe Easter, maybe Christmas if I'm in the mix, but that's, No, like, shout out to them. A lot of people in my girlfriend's family listen, her dad specifically, and like I'll go over to their house for dinner and they'll like reference things, and I don't forget that I say them, but instantly when they say stuff, I'm like, what else did I say in that episode? You know what I mean? Like, was I, because who knows what I say on an episode-to-episode basis. For example, I don't know if you guys picked up on this. This started one day, and Andrew being Andrew, it's kind of became, it started as a long bit and turned into our life. I genuinely don't like to drink like ice cold water. I like room temperature water. It's just kind of what I like.
Jeez, one of those.
Yeah.
We literally, it's so funny you say that. We have 2 Britas in my house because my wife likes room temperature water and I like freezing cold water. So we have 1 Brita in the fridge, 1 on the countertop.
So your wife completely gets it.
This was an episode of ours.
Yeah. So Andrew now leaves 1 water. I don't know if you guys saw me pick it up when I walked in.
Yeah, it was outside the fridge.
He leaves 1 water bottle outside the fridge for me. Yeah.
What a good brother.
Well, no, because I'll throw a fit. Now that it started, I'll be like, oh, really? You don't care about me anymore? Like, you're not going to leave a water bottle? So, this came into the show, probably it's been a long time. I show up at my girlfriend's, dad's house the one day for dinner, and we walk in, hey, like, say hello to everybody, and her dad and Mary Ellen are like, oh, your water's right there. And there's a glass of water sitting on the counter. And he's like, yeah, we've had that glass of water sitting out for you, like, so that it's room temperature. And I'm like, fuck, dude, like, they're onto this now, too. Like, that's such a weird thing where, like, I don't ever want to inconvenience, like, my girlfriend's family. Like, I would just never do that. They're awesome people. And so I kind of like sunk a little bit. I was like, oh man, like now I know for a fact that they're listening. And his other favorite comment was like, the one day I was just going on and on about how, why can't dogs talk if they can bark?
I knew that's the one you were going to say.
Like
I
how,
think about that all the time because that's one of the dumbest things I think you've ever said.
He thinks that too because he says it to me all. He brings it up all the time.
That's on my level of IQ.
Right?
I'm with you.
If
I'm
you can,
there.
if it doesn't make sense to me. If you can if they can comprehend what I'm saying, and also they have like a voice box somewhere that allows them to bark, how can they not figure out how to pronunciate?
Pronunciate?
That's a word, right? Emily.
Combining 2.
Yeah, you're putting a couple
What's the word?
together.
Pronounce and
Pronounce is
enunciate.
one thing,
And enunciate.
Enunciate.
pronunciate.
The
Pronunciate.
sad,
I like
the
that, though.
sad thing is I sat here and I'm like, what's wrong with what he said? Because again, I'm at the same IQ level he is. I'm like, yeah, pronunciate.
Yeah, announce, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I still think dogs
It's
should
so
be able to
many
talk,
things.
and
It's-
that's
it's
what it
the
comes.
way that their jaws are, the way that their tongue is. Like they can't talk.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of other things that dogs are like.
Listen,
Picking up
we
on.
don't need your logic, dude. All right, just let us suffer in the fact that dogs can't speak our language to us, and we have to listen to the way that they're talking to us. Like today, my dog barely barks; he just doesn't do it. But he's so excited to eat dinner that he's jumping up and down, and he's doing his little thing, and his head's going a mile a minute. And I'm looking at him, and I just say, "Speak, like just get it out, man. Like just bark."
Let me know.
And then he barked, and his tail started wagging because he realized like that's all I needed. And then he ate his food.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just.
That easy.
I just wish I could speak to him though,
Yeah.
or he could speak to me.
So you don't listen to your episodes?
No.
Yeah, just kind of round us back.
Yeah, way to bring it
Yeah.
back.
No, I
I
appreciate
try.
that. And to come full circle, unless you were going somewhere with that.
No.
But I did actually have another point. Well, I didn't know if you were going to talk
About
about
talking dogs?
No.
Okay.
Back to the whiskey again.
Love that.
You talked about Scotch. I was going to go down this path before then White Collar happened, the whole nine. But
I will never be inconvenienced by Matt Bomer. Just
yeah,
saying.
to me, when I hear it, and again, it's not from a like somebody that drinks a lot of it, but to me, when you hear Scotch, like Scotch is such a more intimidating thing to drink than, like a Kentucky whiskey or a bourbon or even a rye. And I've never really even sat there and like drank Scotch and been like, oh, it's a taste thing. Do people like relay that same thing to you when you're like, you should try this Scotch, it's really good, and they're like, oh, I don't know about Scotch?
Yeah, because and the reason behind it is that there's one predominant Scotch region that's associated with very peaty and off-putting tastes, and that's an island of Islay, which is located off the west coast of Scotland. What they do is they take peat moss, which is literally what the entire island is made of, is peat moss, which is just basically fungus ground. And what they do is, since they can't burn fires there, I was literally just there like 3 weeks ago, no flex, I was in Scotland, just so you know. But what they do is they take peat moss because it's so damp there that they can't burn wood because all the wood is wet. So what they do is they burn the ground, and the ground is what stops the fermentation of barley, which is what you need to have it at a specific point where, if I'm getting way too nerdy, let me know.
No,
But,
this is good.
it
This is
stops,
what we just talked about.
yeah, I
this
know,
way.
right? Yeah. So it stops the fermentation of barley at a specific point where then you can start introducing the yeast, which will create sugars, which then creates the alcohol and all that stuff. So what they do is they burn peat moss, which is what people normally associate with Scotch, is that very smoky, campfire, peaty, earthy fungus note. There's 5 other regions of Scotland, though. There's Speyside, Highlands, Lowlands, Campbelltown, and just overall islands. And they all have different tastes. So one of our favorites is Balvenie, which is a Speyside Scotch. It's very fruity. It's not peaty at all. And if anyone is looking to get into a Scotch that's coming from bourbon, I normally either recommend Balvenie or Glenfiddich 15, which was aged in a bourbon cask, because it has those same note characteristics that are similar to a bourbon. But yeah, I completely get that all the time because they associate it with, like, if they watch Parks and Rec. Have you guys watched Parks and Rec?
Big
Nick
fan.
Offerman is a huge fan of Lagavulin, and Lagavulin is located on the southeastern side of Islay, and they do peated whiskey, which is very off-putting for a lot of people. It comes off as like peppercorn steak, very fungus, a little bit vegetative, depending on which one you have. And that's what people go towards because, oh, I've heard that from Parks and Rec, I'm going to try that. And they never try Scotch again. So if you're out there listening and you want to try Scotch, definitely go for Speyside because Speyside region is more fruity. That's what I got you into Scotch. So good. So Mike is a good example of it because when we started this podcast, Mike was like, I don't like Scotch. I'm like, that's wrong. You don't like the certain region of Scotland.
No, you do actually like Scotch.
Yeah, you do like Scotch. We just got to find the right Scotch for you. And your introduction was actually Glenlivet 12, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was Glenlivet and then Balvenie and then Oban, and then which is weird. And then after Oban, it was Macallan. After Macallan, it was Lafroig. Yeah. After Lafroig, it was Ardbeg. And then now it's just like, I'll do anything because you just got to... Peat is the one thing that you have to warm up to. You have to. Like, if you start with the Lafroig 10, and like so 10 year, and you open the bottle, and don't even pour it. Just open the bottle. The entire room will smell like peat. So, like, if anyone's trying not to get pulled over, never drink Isla Scotch and drive, because everybody can smell that. Like, it's so obnoxious. And it's not, you could be stone sober, but you can still smell like it. So it's just one of those things. It's just very overwhelming. But yeah, start with Speyside because it's really fruity. So you'll get like grapes, strawberries,
pears, peaches, apples.
Yeah,
Very
it's super good.
We'll do a
Super
little whiskey
good.
tasting maybe next time. Maybe we'll have you guys on ours and we'll
That'd
do
be
a little
awesome.
whiskey tasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd love to like learn about all that stuff too. You know what I mean?
We have a stupid amount of knowledge that nobody cares about, so it'll be nice to talk to people that actually do.
No,
Oh, yeah,
I
100%.
again,
100%.
like Andrew was saying earlier, it's awesome to hear people talk about stuff like this, especially when it's a mutual interest too. It's like I said, I enjoy drinking it. I just don't know anything about it, and unfortunately, it's not in my human nature to be like, I'm gonna go learn about this and read. So it's nice to hear other people talk about it that also care about it, but understand like, yeah, not everybody has to be like head over heels kind of obsessed with it. You can just enjoy it.
Yep.
But the more and more you enjoy something, the more you want to know, why you enjoy it and how to be able to discuss it. Exactly what you said earlier.
Tell them the story about the Pappy Van Winkle cocktail, because that's a good kind of segue into how people don't necessarily require you to drink it neat. So tell them about it.
Yeah, so Pappy Van Winkle, you guys have heard of, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like very expensive.
Ridiculously
Yeah,
expensive.
Yeah, it's like
And it's very
$2,000 a
overpriced.
bottle.
Holy
It's
smokes.
like $2,000 a bottle, depending on what you're getting. And obviously, depending on states, prices will change. Relax, internet. But like, generally, Pappy is super expensive. It's kind of the unicorn. It's like the Holy Grail, right? And it's all because of the name. So, the grandson of Pappy Van Winkle is at a bar, and they have it on the shelf. So he walks up to the bartender, and he's like, I'll take Pappy, and he orders it as a cocktail with 3 other ingredients. Okay? And the bartender, like, smirks. He goes, sorry, sir, but, like, I can't do that. Like, it's Pappy. Like, I have to pour it, 1 ounce pours to drink neat. It's just, it's a delicacy. Like, I'm not going to make a cocktail with Pappy. And he goes, go ahead. Like, it's fine. Just make it. So the bartender's at this point aggravated, and he's like, fine. Like, if that's what you want to do, like, do you want a single or a double? So he goes, single's fine. And he's like, okay. So he makes the cocktail and he gives it to him. And the grandson never said who he was to the bartender, gives him his credit card to pay for it. And the bartender grabs the card and he walks over to the register and he looks at the card and he's typing in the card info and he's all snooty. And then he looks at the name because he's got to type it in and he turns ghost white. And he looks at the bartender because he followed him down to the register and he's quiet about it. He's very classy, but he goes, just know that this is how my grandfather enjoyed his own whiskey. So never judge because you never know who's on the other side of the bar.
Damn.
And he just cashed him out and he's just like, and he's stunned. Didn't say anything else other than, do you want another?
Yeah.
And that was it. Because, like, what else do you say, right? Like, what else, how else are you going to respond to that? And it's just a perfect example of however somebody wants whiskey, they it is what it is, right? But it's very interesting because there's the purists and there's, like, the radical side of whiskey lovers that are just going to flip out and they're like, unbelievable, you put an ice cube in it. It's like, dude, take a lap, man. Like, it'll be okay. Like, it's just juice.
Yeah, I like shit cold. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I want to cut it a little bit, you know? Like, and that's, every Wednesday we'll do a Wednesday whiskey review. So we'll rate everything. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be tequila, rum, a coffee liqueur, whiskey.
We just had a banger tequila cream the other day.
Yeah,
That
a
was so
tequila
good.
cream instead of a bourbon cream, super good. And we're just like, all
Almost
right.
drank the whole bottle.
Yeah, and we're like, why don't you've hit that from me, by the way. They're like, our go-to is we'll do everything neat on principle of they put time into this product. We'll just try it as is, and then if we want to make a cocktail with it, then we will. But we're not going to go off the rails. Like, we'll just try everything neat.
yeah.
We've had insane spirits neat, like ghost pepper whiskey, dill whiskey. We've had
We don't talk about that one.
no, it's atrocious. We've had like Stillhouse was the other one that was hysterical.
Cherry.
Yeah, Stillhouse Cherry, where it's like $12 a bottle, but it's like in a canteen. It's not even a bottle.
It's
so
like
like
an
all
oil
these.
canister. It's like, do I put this in my car? Or do I put it in my
Yeah,
mouth?
it's so strange. But like we'll just do that, and then we've done like cocktail videos, but having everything neat up front is like the baseline. And then we'll just rate it with this like joke of a rating scheme that we've gotten from an old college professor that probably should not have taught.
Yeah, he was on meds.
Yeah.
He
like-
graded our papers. Like Mike and I submitted the same paper. He graded mine A+, and he graded Mike's A check. And we asked him, we're like, what's the difference? He goes, I'm on too many pills to really tell you. I'm like, okay.
But the honesty
honest,
there,
yeah.
yeah, it's
Hell
the
yeah.
honesty.
Oh, it was
there.
amazing.
Yeah.
He took an elevator, like because he was a little bit bigger of a guy and he didn't need to take the
He
elevator,
was
but
old.
he did.
He
And
was
old.
He
yeah.
had a landline telephone.
You don't have to defend him.
No, I'm not. But just so you understand who
Yeah.
this person is, he had a landline telephone in every room, so that if the phone rang, he didn't have to get up.
But the way that this elevator story gets better is because he yelled at a student because he was late in a wheelchair because he couldn't get the elevator in time.
Because he was taking the
Because
elevator.
he was taking
because
the
his
elevator.
own student in the wheelchair was using the elevator. Because he walks in, so the student in his wheelchair, right? Like he got to class, right? He's on time. Okay, so then like 4 minutes go by, and me and Derek are automatically like 10-minute college rule.
Yeah,
If he's not showing, we're
we're
leaving,
out,
right? Like
yeah.
we'll just go to Tim's, like whatever. And we're sitting there, and then 4 minutes go by, and he walks in, and he's all huffing puffing, right? So he's breathing a little heavy, and he walks in, he turns the corner to the room, and he's like, "Sorry, someone was using the elevator." And me and Derek were like, "Can you even say that?" Like,
Well, certainly you cannot. Well, certainly you cannot.
but that's a benefit of going to college around 2010, where
Yeah.
things were way different.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, that is just unbelievable.
Hilarious.
So we use his rating scheme on our show now to pay homage to
I
him
give it
because
6 wheelchairs.
it was. So we'll just go, we'll just say like A plus plus check because what does it even mean?
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So it's fun stuff like that.
No,
God.
I mean, it's so cool, and it's exactly as promised to like getting here to sit and hang out with you guys. Like you're just hanging out.
Oh yeah.
Like Andrew deals, as I've said earlier, deals kind of with all aspects of the show from like a technical thing and getting everything set up, making sure where we're supposed to be. I'm just the one that shows up 10 minutes after I'm supposed to be here, and we hop in and get to sit down. And when he was kind of first telling me about you guys, he was saying it's two guys, they this, that, the other thing, and their show is awesome. They talk about what they need to talk about, but they're not afraid to go off the rails and
not
like
at all.
enjoy themselves, and it's been a lot of fun.
We just did a clip the other day about who the best Batman or the Joker was, because we don't like the fact that actors change from movie to movie.
Correct.
You know?
I don't like change. I like
Yeah.
consistency.
No, I
But it's different.
could not agree
It's
with
different
you more there.
universes.
It's a different universe.
So-
In that example,
again,
So that
you
we
with your
rated them,
logic.
Yeah, see
We're-
this.
we're not here for your
Just
logic, dude.
Well, dude,
Yeah.
I think about this. Dude, I think about the different Batmans all the time. So
because
I've got that on
we
deck.
went on a long tangent about how we enjoy the new Batman.
Oh, I love
Robert Pattinson?
Yeah, Pattinson is my favorite now, I think.
Oh, really?
I mean,
like
what's
that
up
one.
with your boy
Yeah.
Ben? Are you not a fan of Ben Affleck?
Yeah,
No, I
I'm a
actually
big
liked
Ben
his.
Affleck fan.
Liked his Batman a lot for
What
sure.
about Joker?
Joker?
It's got to be the boy.
I feel like Heath Ledger is my number one and always will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
If we're doing
but
Jokers
Jared
across
Leto's
everything,
Joker
though-
was different
Yeah.
because he was
Crazy.
more like eccentric to me
Right.
too.
Sure.
Right, like less of like the kind of dirty aspect. Like I just Heath Ledger, like he just.
Are you talking about the Joker from like the mid to late 90s?
No, I'm talking
from,
about
like,
Suicide
Suicide
Squad
Squad.
Joker.
Okay, who was the
that
Joker
Jared
from?
Leto?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first Jack Nicholson, the live action one.
Is that the first one?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the first one with Jack
with,
Nicholson
with the
in,
the Ivy
89.
woman who was like a smoke show, but we were too young to know what was going on.
That
You know what I'm
two
talking
different
about?
two
like-
different movies, but yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about,
Ivy
like
was
that
in,
era.
Batman and Robin, which is the George Clooney one, and then Jack Nicholson was in the first Michael Keaton Batman.
Okay.
In '89, and he
Okay.
was the first Joker. But if we're talking Jokers all across the board, Mark Hamill was the voice of the Joker on the Batman cartoon in like the 90s, it should count because he's the best. He's the best one.
Oh,
Yeah, 100%.
Well, we'll make sure to all go home and watch that.
You should. It's a phenomenal show. Holds up.
Fucking ruin our whole
Holds up.
conversation.
I'm just saying it holds up. Sorry, dude. Hey, I'm coming correct, okay?
But that actually was the
Pause.
perfect. That was the perfect segue for us to do a little Who Would Win of the Week. So
we got to get into the Who Would Win of the Week.
Okay.
The Who Would Win of the Week this week is Tiger Woods versus Rasputin. This is a solid matchup.
Can I full confession to start off? You said, "Do I know who Rasputin is?" And I said, "Yeah," but I just would like to double check. He's like the Russian guy.
Yeah, he is the
Okay,
Russian
That
guy.
Russian,
He's the Russian guy.
mythical dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's also in.
Win in what? A fight?
Yes.
Yes.
So like bare knuckle.
Yes.
Because Tiger's an athlete.
Tiger's an athlete.
There's
And
a
he's
lot
been
of
through a
different
lot,
things
and
we
he's
got to
been
talk
through a
about
lot.
when it
All
comes
right,
to
so
Tiger.
let's lay this out, right? So like
Rasputin.
Tiger Woods is an athlete who's got a thing for IHOP. Okay, so he's an athlete. The IHOP waitress ruined his life.
no, he's got it.
Well, no, and
Derek.
this is what I. Yes,
Come
thank
on,
you.
keep up. So Tiger Woods is an athlete who's got a thing for IHOP, but we're also talking about a legitimate Russian.
Like the Russian of all Russians, I would argue. Like they literally tried to because Rasputin, I don't know if you know this, just in case, he was like the associate to the king or whatever. He was kind of like their doctor. He had a lot of weird things, but he was basically having sex with everybody's wife. So a bunch of these guys.
So was Tiger.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why that's a good matchup.
Yeah.
And they tried to kill Rasputin. A bunch of these guys got him to like this swamp, and they all like stabbed him and stuff. And they're like, "Well, Rasputin's dead. Good to go." Next day, Rasputin shows back up and he fucks them all up. Man, he can't be killed.
Can we pull him up on the TV?
We can't pull him up on.
We
that
could have
TV.
on that
we
one.
used
but
to
it
have,
was,
but we don't.
It got
I
too
don't have it set up right
distracting.
now,
There was
sorry.
too much.
I want to see what
yeah.
this man looks like, though.
What?
Do you have your phone? You can look up a
Yeah.
picture of him real quick because he.
What? Well, the thing I know about him is he's a large man too.
He
I'm
is
a big
big.
height
What-
and weight
what-
guy.
what's the height?
Yeah, what's the height weight difference between the two?
Oh, it's probably
Tiger's pretty
significant.
tall, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiger's 6'1", right?
I have no idea.
I also think it depends on which
Dude, they thought
Tiger
we were
era.
tall.
Yeah, Tiger's about 6'1",
I'm
$185.
just saying you're taller than you look on the Instagram clips, pal. Okay? I'm sorry that offended you guys so much.
No, it's
I'm just saying.
As long as I don't look smaller.
Rasputin was like 6'4". Rasputin was like
Oh,
6'4".
Jesus.
Yeah, which especially for like the time period, I feel.
right now. That's the thing.
a
I
big
mean,
dude.
right now,
Yeah,
I'm
I mean this
leaning
is
towards
Rasputin.
Look at
Rasputin
him, boss.
100%
Look
is
at him,
going
boss.
to rock
So,
Tiger Woods.
again,
Tiger Woods is
it
not even going
depends
to
to me-
entertain this.
It depends on what era of Tiger that we're talking about.
And we pre-back injury, we have to be to
Yeah.
at
Have
least
to
make
be,
this
yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Prime.
Okay,
prime,
so
prime
okay,
boys,
so
right?
prime Tiger,
Well,
but like,
well,
what's the
prime
situation?
when we're like a month and a half before like Tiger's life broke down completely. Like when he was buzzing,
Yeah.
cheating on his wife, doing drugs, the
Top
whole
of the
nine.
world.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you right
still
now.
winning tournaments.
Do you guys golf at all?
Yes.
Matthew does.
Okay, so you understand how much power and athleticism goes into a golf swing, right?
Oh yeah.
You throw a haymaker with swinging a club 120 miles an hour, that's going to do some
No,
damage.
Tiger can definitely throw him.
That's what I'm saying.
Is Tiger armed with a club in this fight?
No, I don't think.
No,
It's man to man.
man to man, alpha.
But
Yeah.
okay, so think about this. Think about
Sidebar, we
this.
golfing sometime?
I would absolutely love,
Love that.
to,
Hell
wherever and whenever.
God, don't stop that.
Yeah. Listen, we're hanging out on this side of the table.
Oh, yeah.
You're with Logic Man over there.
Yeah, you don't put me in that. Yeah, don't put me in that ship.
Sorry, Andy. Still love you. But
I brought shame to my house.
yeah. Here's the thing about Tiger is that when he was in that prime, like when he was like that stretch where he made like 40,
Unstoppable.
like he made every cut for like 4 straight years. He was training with Navy SEALs like for fun.
Grow up. Whatever.
Oh yeah.
What are you talking
familiar?
about,
Have you
dude?
gone to Buds before?
They're
Are you familiar with
assassins.
Navy
Part
SEAL
of the
training?
part of the Navy SEAL training is you have to die. They have to bring you back to life. That's part of the training is you have to drown and
Carry
they
the
bring you back to
boats.
life.
Whatever. Oh my God. There's more intense things in the world than buds. Okay.
Carry the
Listen,
boats.
I read a book.
We all
once.
have to take a moment and thank Mike for his service.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just like, oh my, it's like, why is that always the thing? It's like, oh, Navy SEALs, like, that's going to end all debates. Like, that man could have went through
Rasputin.
You know what? That's
Also
true.
running-
Rasputin
Rasputin-
probably wrote buds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
Rasputin
dude's a
would've-
savage.
That's a good call.
But still, Tiger Woods swinging 120 miles an hour. That's obliques exercises, bro.
But I would.
Where does that stack now, though? I mean, what about that dude that's a physics major with the weird hat?
Bryson?
Yeah, Bryson
He sucks.
DeChambeau.
Yeah.
He's
His
on
club
live.
speed's
He
over
dropped.
120,
He took the
though.
Saudi
Dropped.
money.
He sucks.
Would you relax? His club speed is over 120, though.
Well, yeah, but he's also a nerd.
And? Sorry he took the money and ran.
Fair enough. Listen, I mean, Brooks Koepka did it. He almost won.
Yeah,
he almost
right.
won the
Yeah,
Masters.
he was pretty good.
Sorry, not to derail this segment, because so far right now we're all leaning towards Russian. But
I don't know. Who
not
you're
determined
talking for.
yet.
Not this guy.
Whatever. How can someone possibly be in live but then also go to the Masters?
So
Because-
the majors,
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
don't-
I could- yeah.
I understand the reason, right, of what they published. That's
Well,
still nonsense
no, but
to
the,
me.
The majors are actually not PGA sanctioned events technically, so it's not a PGA tournament.
The
Those-
Masters is not a PGA
No, so
tournament.
the four majors are completely separate entities. They kind of are their own governing bodies, but they fall into the same category, the four of them. So they are not PGA sanctioned. Like you actually don't even have to be a PGA pro to play in.
That's why you
the
can
majors.
qualify for all these.
Yeah, you could go out and qualify for like the U.S. Open.
Yeah, not happening.
No, I mean I wouldn't either.
My
but
clubs
people
are too
do.
short.
People legitimately do. There was an amateur that played. There was an amateur that played in the Masters, and
Sam
he
Bennett
did pretty damn
crushed.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he actually got a standing ovation when he arrived at the airport as a loser, but he
Yeah.
still made money, so who cares?
Yeah.
All right, so Rasputin versus Tiger.
Rasputin versus Tiger. I think a lot of talking about Tiger's swing. I think both of these guys' strength, a lot of it is going to come from the shoulders because both of them did a lot of fucking. And you don't get shoulders like that unless you're laying pipe nonstop. And that's something that both of those guys did. Like
Yeah,
a
dude,
lot.
for
That's
real.
true.
100%.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
I'm looking up Rasputin's background.
Randall Sputin.
Yeah, I'm adding an N, but
here's the thing, and it's gonna pain me to say this, but my thing with the Hoover of the Week is I've always said it has to be. There's a lot of integrity in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Gun to your head, who's gonna win this fight? We had a little bit of a moment going on there. I would also love personally to pick Tiger Woods because
Rasputin.
until either I'm dead or Tiger Woods is dead, I will always say that he's got a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Even the people that are saying like he's never gonna win another golf tournament, you're probably right, but it just takes one round,
agree.
and he gets hot and he goes.
Yeah.
I love Tiger Woods, but 6'4" Rasputin, I feel like is gonna punch his face.
Do you guys follow boxing at all?
No.
I mean, I watch the big fights, but that's pretty much the extent of it.
You get arm reach in there, and you got like 3 inches more arm reach from
Yeah.
Rasputin. That's going to do a lot of damage
Yeah.
when you talk about jabs.
And I don't know how well Tiger can probably take some pain, but I don't know how well he could take like a shot to the jaw. Like
I mean, he just backed out because of plantar fasciitis pain.
Dude, that sucks. I have that right now.
I had plantar fasciitis, very painful.
I understand.
But
I mean, this man was literally attempted to drown to his death, and that's a conspiracy behind how he died. They're saying that they bound him, threw him through a hole in the ice in the Neva River, where he finally died by drowning. However, subsequent autopsies largely refuted this account of events, where he was apparently shot to death. And
Took a lot to
they
take him
asked,
down, dude.
yeah, and they asked why he was assassinated, and they said in an effort to rid the court and the country of Rasputin's influence, a group of nobles led by Prince Felix Vuspov, who was the richest man in Russia and the husband of the Tsar's only niece, the Tsar's first cousin, plotted the monk's demise. He was a monk. I mean, he was
Yeah.
unbelievably holy as a human being, and then
so Rasputin.
I just, you got the power of God behind you. He looks like a Russian. Look at him. He looks like a Russian
Jeez,
Lord of
Gandalf.
the
I like
Rings
the black
Yeah,
and white.
yeah,
I like
yeah,
the black
yeah.
and white pictures better. That shit with that creeps me out. I don't like
Yeah,
him.
Yeah, dude,
I mean,
he's a wild man.
He
Yeah.
looks like a Russian Gandalf.
I'm locking in
locking
Rasputin
in
for sure,
Rasputin.
brother.
Yeah,
Rasputin.
I'll take it.
I'm with him.
Rasputin's got 2 dicks and he can't be killed, dude.
I don't know where you
Oh,
got
yeah.
that
That's
from,
the truth.
but
That's the truth.
we'll lock that
That's
in.
just what it is.
Rasputin
That's
with a
science.
clean sweep. I have a feeling. But listen, there's a lot of Tiger fans out there.
There are a lot
I'm
of
just
Tiger
saying,
fans.
Vote on that.
But if
on
they do
Friday.
their historical research, if they crack open that McGraw Hill a
do you
little
think
bit,
anybody that listens to the show is going to do historical research?
I do not, Matthew. I
Yeah.
do
You'd
not.
be
but I'm
very
just saying.
surprised. We've had
Just
some
saying.
very interesting comments come
only
back
time
where someone
people really
has
ever-
done research.
Mostly
people
promoted
really-
on
yeah.
xmedia.com.
Fair enough. The only time people really ever come back at us is if we like talk shit about Kenny Chesney. There's a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of people love Kenny Chesney on the internet apparently.
No Shoes Nation.
Yeah. But before we wrap up, a couple things. One, that was absolutely delicious. I cannot thank you guys enough.
Well, that's
So,
yours. So
you
the
only
rest
have
of
a
that's
couple
yours.
bottles
Yeah, we
left.
can't
Can
do
people
that to you
still
guys.
buy it though?
Yeah, only at Addy's on
Okay.
Transit Road in Williamsville. So they're right next to the Wegmans across the street from Neat. So walk into Addy's, make sure at checkout you ask for the sticker that goes with the bottle because it's TTB. Nope, the actual label is a sticker because it's TTB. So make sure you request that. They can give it to you at checkout. And then, just make sure you get the Buffalo Happy Hour Clonakilty Single Barrel. Only sold at Addy's.
And you guys have talked about a bunch of different stuff that you have going on. I mean, the podcast one, and then, whiskey classes and stuff like that. Is there anything like that you have going on coming up, or is it all just kind of in the works?
Yeah, so we're actually going to be dropping some more information around these whiskey classes probably within the next couple of weeks, a month.
Correct.
Yeah, so if you are interested in attending whiskey classes, we go from basically basics all the way up until advanced type of whiskey classes. Follow our Instagram because we'll be posting it all over there, or Facebook or whatever. We are at the official Buffalo Happy Hour on Instagram and just Buffalo Happy Hour on Facebook. And then Buffalo Happy Hour on YouTube if you're looking to subscribe, because that's where all of our information is going to be. Other than that, we're not planning on any a next single barrel at all, just because we're trying to get through some of the other stuff that we got going on right now and get through some of the inventory. But, it's kind of the main thing. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, the whiskey classes, if there's any small business that wants us to do any type of marketing for them, we can. Whether it be commercials, quick clips, any type of promo video that they want us to do, we can. We've worked a lot with local breweries, specifically Breyer Brothers. So we've done a lot with them. We've done a full promo video, which was awesome, and that's all on our YouTube channel. And then our trip to Ireland for Clonakilty is also on YouTube. So if anybody wants to see that, yeah, we went to Clonakilty post single barrel release and then did a full marketing tour for 5 days where we just captured as much content as possible.
So when you went on that trip, who was shooting for you? Did you guys
It was
take
us.
turns
We-
shooting?
We do everything.
Okay,
we do
yeah.
everything in house. Yeah, we don't have a producer. You guys are unbelievably spoiled and very blessed and lucky. But yeah, I mean,
That's why when you said, do you watch these episodes back? I'm like, yeah, because I edit them and it's painful.
Yeah.
You
That's
know what
why.
I'm talking
Yes.
Well, again, this is completely a passion project for Emily. She loves the sound of Andrew and I's voice. Yeah.
about. I'm sure.
She loves hearing Jake and Ben talk about Ben's hemorrhoids on Scheming and
dude.
Dreaming. So
No.
it's a big
I
part.
think you need a mic.
It's a big part of that show.
They ask me questions all the time.
Yeah.
Ben and Jake, and I'm like,
Listen, Emily has great input every
Yeah.
once in a while, but
one mic isn't going to kill you guys.
financially, we'd have to run the books.
Yeah, we have to see. We have to see.
Yeah, we could afford the mic, but then we'd have to cut Emily. So,
But we'll put links for everything you guys just mentioned in the description
Yeah,
of this
sounds good.
episode and
Thanks, man.
stuff, so people will be able to find it. And thank you guys so much for coming on. This was super
Oh, yeah.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a pleasure. It was a fun time. Fun meeting you guys.
oh,
Yeah,
it was
it was great.
awesome.
Hopefully
we
more in the
appreciate
future.
You guys,
100%.
Yeah.
That's our first pound on this side of the
see, now
table.
they're- they're-
Check
they're
that
trying to
out.
do it.
They're trying,
Yeah,
they're
I know.
trying.
Yeah, I'm surprised you guys are going to like hug and kiss each other
I mean,
whatever
we
on the way
might.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Podcast's
mean,
not
not
over
while
yet.
the camera's on.
Yeah.
That's
But-
Patreon content, baby.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not free. But seriously, check the whiskey out. Check the podcast out. Sorry, these guys are awesome. It was a blast. It really was. It was better than Andrew even drew it up for me. And we appreciate you guys coming on.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Andy, I love you.
I love you too. Let's get out of here. Thanks, folks.